Hello, everyone. We have an amazing chance today not only to summarize this week, but also talk about the month, also summarize the quarter. Because guess what? I'm recording this at the end of the quarter. Are you ready to summarize all of these together in a unique way, in a different way than we usually do? Hopefully, it will be not only educational, but also entertainment. Are you ready for it? Let's go. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, welcome. And if you're a repeating viewer, thank you very much for your trust in watching all these weekly summaries. I'm Micha Stocks, and this is our video. Assume it's going to work. Let's see. Yeah, it works. This is our YouTube channel where we have over 2,000 subscribers. You can, if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe to the channel up on the right. And then if you'll change notification to all, you'll get notified every week that I post a video. And of course, don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoy the content. Let's dive in. What happened this quarter? As I mentioned, we have the unique opportunity to summarize the quarter, the month, the week. The quarter on the major averages was red. We didn't have a good quarter. The Dow Jones was down 2.6%, NASDAQ down 3%, the S&P down 3.65%, and the Russell got hit the strongest, 5.1%. The reason for that is because there's still expectation in the market that the Fed will keep increasing rates or rates will stay higher for longer. And if they stay higher for longer, the smaller caps, the Russell 2000, might be impacted more than that. When we look at the Bitcoin, the crypto market didn't have a good quarter either. Bitcoin is down 11% Q2D, meaning quarter to date. And the reason for that is because there is still waiting pattern for the SEC to approve the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF. And apparently there are people that have just abandoned the ship and say, this is probably not going to happen this year. I'm going to look for something else to park my money in. When we look at the indices themselves, we can see that only two of the major indices ended the quarter on a positive note. It's the XLC, the communication, which we'll see in a second. I'll tell you already. It was Meta that drove it higher. And we can see that energy outperformed all the market by 12%. All the rest of the indices came out on the negative. You can see that the worst performer was actually the utilities and the retail, and the real estate. They were the worst performers. If we look at the commodities themselves, crude oil went up 27.8% this quarter. This will impact inflation, CPI. It will go into production. It is really a headwind for all the progress that has been made so far. And we know who is making this happen. Thank you, Saudi Arabia, for reducing your output in order to increase the price. Anyone says monopoly? Exactly that. Natural gas up 4.9% on the quarter. All the rest pretty much on the red. I want to highlight two more areas. Sugar up 14.5%. Sugar is a main ingredient in a lot of foods we consume, meaning, again, CPI and PC. And also orange juice, which is not on this chart, but orange juice has a squeeze that pushes the prices up almost 100%. Two-folds of the price a month ago. I don't know, probably not enough oranges. When we look at different countries, which we usually don't do, the quarter wasn't good for most of the countries out there. Every ETF here represents a country, whether it's Peru, Colombia. You can see that there are very small amount of countries that their main market ended up green. That was Norway, up 5.74%. India, up 2.45%. Vietnam, by the way, you can see on the left-hand side here on the table, their ETF ticker. You can basically buy and participate if you believe that other countries will dominate. The one that you probably feel you missed was Turkey. Turkey went up during Q3 by staggering 36.5%. This is Turkey. Look at their chart. Q to date, 36%. The other one was Egypt, went up 12.89%. Since I mainly cover Wall Street and American companies, I'm less less acquainted to the reasons why that happened. By the way, when you look year to date, I'm not sure they even, let's check the SPY versus them. You can see that the SPY, at the end of the day, when you look year to date, overcome all of them, both Turkey and Egypt. But Q3, they outperformed. If they'll continue, that would be great. Some other thing that happened in this quarter is, let's put the 3-year. This is the CPI chart. You can see that this quarter, let's put Q2D, we started going up from 3% to 3.7. The reason for that is because when we look at yearly comparison, you can see that we started going down from 9.1 all the way down to 3, and now we're kind of balancing that. This is part of the math and the way it's calculated. But the Fed actually paused this quarter from raising rates. We're still at 5.25 to 5.5%. The assumption in the market currently is that in Q4, the Fed will increase rate by 25 basis points. No one really knows what would be the reason for that, but at least that is the current plan for the Fed. When we look at our heat map, you can see from this heat map pretty well why the market went down. Easy way to highlight it. The size of the rectangulars here is the size of the impact of the market. Microsoft, a big influencer on the market, and Apple, a big influencer on the market. Actually, both of them influence in a dramatic way. And when I talk about the market, I talk about the S&P. Apple went down 10.6%. Microsoft went down 6.5%. And when they go down in these kind of percentages, it's very hard for the other market to push forward. On the other hand, you can see Google went up 8.9, Meta went up 5.4, and Nvidia, which we'll cover in a second, also went up 4.3. The only sector, and we talked about it earlier, that is green is the XLE. It's the energy. It feels like 2020, 2022 again, where energy is outperforming the whole market. You can see here on the heat map reasons for the fall. And everyone during Q3, during the third quarter, has become a technical analyst. Everyone now is looking at the charts, drawing these parallel lines on the S&P and pulling up the 200-day moving average. This specifically is a 150-day moving average. Everyone right now is waiting to see if the 4,200 on the SPX would be broken. It will be a red light, a red flag for the market saying we are in more than just a regular correction. 3 days before the end of the quarter, we bounced on the parallel channel that started from the 13th of October, bounced again exactly on the 13th of March, and bounced again on 27th of September. Does that mean that we're going to keep on going down, or does that mean that we again found a higher low? Well, we might see that in the next few months. This brings us to the news. Apple, the biggest contributor to the averages, launched iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Pro, new watches. From a survey I did, asked two employees at the Apple store, they think or they believe or they feel it was a very good launch because the lines were longer and more people came in and more people upgraded their phone. Does that mean that Apple's going to push through their results, quarterly results, the market up? Probably. If Apple's going to outperform, then the answer is yes, the markets will go up because Apple is the biggest contributor to the market. And just a quick reminder on Apple, by the way, all of you probably remember that I want to say 2 months ago, the price target for Apple was $250. Now we're hovering around, let's see where we're hovering. Let's put Apple here on the chart, AAPL. We're hovering around 171, and everyone is saying, oh my God, it's probably going to go down to 157. Now, I didn't come from the future. I have no idea if we're going to go down to 157. All I'm saying is that when we were at around 200, it was easy to everyone to say, let's go up to 250. But reality is that stocks go up, stocks go down. We need to know that that's what makes a market. So that's Apple. Let's talk about Microsoft and Copilot. Microsoft is pushing forward their combination with OpenAI, ChatGPT, including it in their Office suite, asking for $30 bucks more per user to have the Copilot, to have someone assist you on every step of the way. We don't know yet how many companies, how many customers subscribe to it. Again, very interesting to their earnings call. NVIDIA, a lot of stories on the hot stock of 2023. Two main stories. One, I think I've mentioned it in the weekly summaries about 2 or 3 weeks ago. A strange phenomena of $2.3 billion of hardware acquired by some kind of company. And the other one is the frequent stock selling or option selling by Jensen Hunt, their CEO. We do not know if this is a mark of a top. We do not know if he knows something that we don't know. All we know is that he's selling a lot of stock, around 800, not 800, I want to say $800 million, but that's not true. 800,000 shares. I remember 800 something. So in the last 6 months, he sold 19 times, 800,000 shares. That's a lot. During the last 3 months, he sold 294,000 shares. Do the math. At $450 per share, that's a lot of babysitter money. Meta last week introduced the Meta Quest 3, an interesting interview. You can find it on X and probably on Meta's platform between Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg. Everything done with the Meta Quest 3. They're creating their own avatar and talking. Is this the future? I don't know. All I know is that Mark Zuckerberg went back talking about the metaverse. The market... you know what? He can keep on talking about metaverse if he keeps lowering costs and becoming more efficient around AI. He also talked about AI and the impact and the influence and everything like that. Amazon finally gets the lawsuit that everyone expected. FTC claims Amazon's actions were against sellers, against shoppers, against everyone. And finally, Lina Khan gets her day in court to prosecute Amazon, which was a long dream for her. I only pulled up this weekend's highlight, which is Ford is canceling Lightning EV orders across the country because they're missing parts. Parts are not coming to dealers, and this, if we take a step back, is related to, as of Friday, we have started the 3rd week of the UAW strike. Factories of Ford, GM, and Stellantis are not operating, or at least some of them are not operating. It's starting to impact not only sales, but also service. This is becoming very, very problematic for these 3 companies and might hold them for investing in their future, which means EV. Everyone is smelling the bankruptcy just coming faster. We might be wrong, but if this continues, as Elon Musk said and mentioned, they're on fast track to bankruptcy. And as I mentioned, everyone now is looking at 200-day moving average for the S&P 500. I said 4,200. Goldman Sachs desk says 4,195. We're all at the same numbers. Everyone now is a technical analyst. You can also just draw parallel lines and you'll know. Ray Dalio is really, really afraid. During this quarter, I actually sat and heard him speak in All-In Conference, where he is really, really afraid that the U.S. is losing its dominance and there might be an empire change, because when you look back at history, at least the way he describes history, the way he sees it, the same phenomenons that went around years ago and hundreds of years ago happens right now in the U.S., and that might be the fall of the empire. Combine that with the rise of India, that's more complicated, but again, Ray Dalio keeps playing the siren and saying there's going to be a debt crisis. And on the other hand, we have Brad Gerstner from Altimer Capital that says the AI is going to be bigger than the internet, bigger than mobile. He's betting on the U.S. tech. He's betting on the U.S. economy versus, again, Ray Dalio on the other hand. GDP, finally we closed Q2 GDP. Yes, a quarter later. The reason for that is after they submit their first results, they start updating them with new data. Well, Q2 GDP went up 2.1%. At this rate, we are not even close to the recession. Jamie Dimon thinks the rates are going to go up to 7%. Larry Fink thinks that recession might come in 2025. All the big bankers have no, I'm not saying it in a bad way, they don't have a clue right now where we're going to end up. So if they don't have a clue, and again, I'm not saying it in a bad way, I'm just saying they have no clue. We, for sure, don't have a clue. All we know is that the Fed funds rate keeps going up. Cannabis went through the Senate committee for banking and passed. It's going to go through some more Senate committees or votes. It's not yet a done deal, but it's progressing. And also, now everyone is a very, very big believer in the oversold metrics. The CNN extreme fear and greed. This is bespoke and their table. Everyone during this quarter became a fear and greed observer. Now, one of the things that people don't understand is that we can be an extreme oversold for weeks. We can be at extreme overbought for weeks. This does not mean that the market is crashing or rallying. It just doesn't mean. It's an indicator and not more than that. And if you heard it somewhere, yeah, we're at extreme fear, it's a good time to buy. Yes, it might be a better timing tool, but it does not mean that once you buy something, things will go up. And this is a good opportunity to mention that everything and anything that you see here is not financial advice. It's only for education and entertainment purpose only. I also said it in the beginning, in the intro, and I'll say it as many times as possible because I don't want anyone to take things here literally. You need to open up your understanding. And first 6 months of the year, yes, it's not Q3, but finally we got the numbers. Apparently competition is really, really, really after Tesla. The only problem is that they're really, really bad. If Tesla during the first half of the year sold 325, 291 cars, EVs, and Chevy is 10% of that, then competition, well, it's not even close. To summarize, this is a great summary. I think I showed it in the weekly summary last week. Stocks are falling like there's a recession, but oil prices are going up like there's no recession. Interest rates are rising like we have 10% inflation, but we have only 3.7% inflation. The hedge for inflation is gold, but that is falling, although Costco is selling gold bars like crazy. Housing prices are rising like rates are really low, but on the other hand, commercial real estate is falling because rates are really high. So not only bankers are or have no clue, no one has a clue because the market is very, very confusing at this time. And this is Gunjan's Wall Street Journal article on the craziness or the casino around 0 day to expiration options. What you see here is a chart of the average daily options volume. You can see that from the year 2000, we almost quadrupled the number of options that the market is using. You can see that from 2010, we almost tripled. You can see that from 2020 or 2019, we doubled. All this means is that gamblers of COVID became gamblers in the market. They're playing options, 0 day to expiration. This means that if you're wrong at 1 or 2 minutes, that's it. You probably lost most of your money. But it's a game that people get addicted to. If they get addicted to, it's from 1 or 2 wins that they got. The only ones that really make money out of it is the market makers. Citadel, Schwab, and others. For every transaction, they're taking the coupon. But at least from my perspective, there is one huge winner in Q3. The biggest winner. The winner that created a Hall of Famer football player. Yes, before her, no one knew about him. He didn't exist. You probably know who I'm talking about. That's Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, during Q3, marked a huge milestone. Her Eras Tour was over $1 billion since it launched, total gross, and she made $300 million of earnings of that tour. She is no doubt the number one, whatever actress you would say, company, you can call whatever you want in Q3. And yes, hopefully you understood from social media and all the buzz, the joke around what I talked about. She made the football player. Let's continue to next quarter where, well, we're going into Q4. When you look back at a presidential cycle, 4 years of a presidential cycle, finally we ended one of the worst quarters, Q3, year 3. Thank you very much. We won't miss you Q3. We're going into Q4. As you can see, there's an uptick between Q3 and Q4 on the third presidential cycle. And remember that then we have a drop again, which means that we might see some green across the board. When we look at September, October, that are bad month, what happens in, August, September, that are bad month, what happens in October and the rest of the year? You can see that October, on average, is up 4.5%. The rest of the year, up 7%. All this thanks to Ryan Dietrich from Carson Group. You can follow all these people on Twitter, of course. Some green. When we look at years that the year to date was 10 to 20%, and we got into October, at least from this statistic, is up only 1.1, and the rest of Q4 up 5.1. Will it happen again or not? I don't know. I wasn't in the future. The last thing that I want to show you is this table. You probably won't see the letters because it's small and it doesn't really matter. We are entering the most busy season of the year. We are going to see all the big companies during October and probably the first week or second week of November reporting their earnings, their revenue. We're going to see if they have shrinkage in the retail, if they have increased earnings in the tech sector, if AI is starting to generate money or only generating buzz. We're going to see all of these things together in the next 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to be here to cover everything. I'm going to be here to cover everything. I hope you're going to be here with me to cover everything. If you smash that like button, that will prove to me that you will be here. Just kidding. You can smash that like button regardless. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this weekly, monthly, quarterly summary of Q3. Next week, we're back to weekly summaries. See you next week. Bye-bye.